I'm Fiona Greenwold and I'm the Engagement Officer for ERIC North East, and ERIC North East is the Environmental Records Information Centre. The definition of an engagement officer, you act as a sort of an interface between a specialist subject and people's understanding. So you're kind of like an interpreter. So you need to have some technical knowledge, but you need to be able to communicate that to the general public in a way that they can understand it and pick up its relevance to them. So it's literally in the title, engagement. You're trying to just get people hooked in and interested in a particular subject and get involved with it. For me, it's the days that I like the most are when I'm working with people and actually interacting with people. If we're doing workshops or if I've got a trip outdoors and I'm teaching people, sort of revealing things to people about the natural world. And when you see somebody sort of be inspired or excited by a part of nature, that gets me excited and inspired. So that's the part I really love the most. So my background and how I got interested in this kind of job really stems from my childhood. My grandpa had a market garden, so he grew vegetables. So I was involved working with plants and the natural world in my childhood. And he had a bit of knowledge about wildlife, so I just was interested in that and picked that up. I've just loved plants really as my thing since my childhood. Then I went on and did biology at school and did the degree in biology and then focused on botany. And I was doing some environmental sort of volunteering, and that's basically how I got into the role as a ranger type job. And then after a while, I realised the sort of education side of it was really important to me. So I actually went off and did a teacher training degree, and I did formally teach for a while. And I found that really valuable to have that formal education training. You know, I think I was quite a good warden and environmental educator before I had that degree in teaching, but actually getting formal teaching skills, I think, really improved my ability to teach and communicate with people. So I think that would be something to consider if you were interested in this kind of thing. And it's something you could move into if you were a teacher. You know, it's about communication and education are the sort of key things. The kind of people that would like a job like this or be drawn to it, I think would be people who enjoy natural history, but who also like communicating about it, who like interpreting it and explaining things to people and just interacting with people. So someone who enjoys communicating about biology and natural history, and someone who can adapt their communication style and be able to work with, you know, from nursery children to educated lecturers. And then, you know, working with nature, just being out on a walk, you know, you're just discovering things all the time if you just keep your eyes and ears open. I used to work at St Mary's Lighthouse, which is a local nature reserve, and we used to take groups out rock pooling. And I mean, rock pooling's just so exciting because you never know what you're going to find when you turn over that rock or lift that bit of seaweed up. So someone who just likes exploring and investigating and is up for just a little bit of unpredictability and who knows what you're going to find, that kind of personality, I think we would like this kind of job, just coupled with the science and the interest in nature. A typical day for me can range sort of between two things. I'm the engagement officer, so quite a lot of my time can be spent at the computer on social media or doing newsletters, things like that. But also the other part of my job is being outdoors and just teaching people about wildlife, doing identification, leading walks or delivering talks. So there's a bit of a mix-up, and that's something I quite like, is that variety of roles to do in the job. My favourite subjects at school were things like, I enjoyed art actually, and science and biology. So that interest in science and biology has been key for this job role. So I went on to do a degree in biology and focused on botany. So it was a good degree because it was it covered all aspects of biology, and I did eventually focus on botany, but I've really appreciated having the broad biological background of my degree. You know, there was zoology, biochemistry, microbiology. All of that is actually feeding in to have a broad base, which I've really, really appreciated in my career. That's been a really valuable thing to have done. I would say that having a degree and going to university, doing further study in the subject, I think it is important for this role. As an engagement officer, you're working with all sorts of people. You know, sometimes I could be working with a nursery group, but I might also be doing a walk with people who are professors. So you need to really have that in-depth knowledge, because your audience can come from, you know, a wide range of people, and the main thing is sort of being able to adapt your style and choose what information you share, but having the technical knowledge and being educated yourself, I think is really valuable. So for this role, I think having a degree in some sort of related subject is a key thing, in my opinion, yeah. My role within the museum is a little bit complicated because ERIC, the Environmental Records Information Centre, who I work for, is actually a separate organisation from the Great North Museum. But we work closely with the museum, and the way we work the closest is when we're doing public events. And I'd be working with the engagement team, the education team in the museum, and we'd, be using the whole museum to do different activities. In different teams, we'd be doing different activities. So we'd have a lot of communication about setting those up, who's doing what, and looking at the bigger picture of what the theme was for that activity, and then just deciding on the different activities and which team are delivering those activities. So quite a lot of partnership work with the museum, and just for public events would be the main way that I'd be integrated in with the museum team, really. The space we're in just now is called the Northumbrian Gallery within the Great North Museum, Hancock, and it's my favourite part of the museum because it's where all the exhibits on the Northumbrian wildlife are found. So it's the sort of local wildlife. There are great specimens, especially of birds, which can be hard to identify in the field, so it gives you a chance to get a good close look at them. And there's a particularly sort of famous exhibit made by Hancock himself, and it was a different way of doing taxidermy, and it's heron being attacked by a gyrfalcon. The heron's caught an eel, and so it's an action shot of the gyrfalcon attacking the heron. Previous to that, taxidermy had been very staid. The specimens had sort of just been plonked there, so he sort of had a new way of doing things, more nature being red in tooth and claw, that kind of thing. So this gallery is great because of the specimens that are here that have been collected over years, and you can really learn a lot just by looking at them and observing them. So if you're interested in wildlife, it's a great thing to do, to come and get a close look at stuff. The advice I'd give to somebody who was interested in this kind of work is to just find out what your interest is and focus on that yourself. Do your own learning, just build up your own experience of it, get educated in it, just absorb all that information. And the other thing I think would be try and get yourself into a sort of volunteering position. You'll learn a lot on the job, and it puts you in a good position for potentially getting work. So you've got real experience, and in my roles I've worked with young people who are interested, and had them as volunteers, and I would try and give them opportunities to do little bits of delivery and communication. I'd be supporting them. So if you can get a good sort of team around you and get doing some volunteering, then that would be the way to go, I think.